So I was in a session today with a client, and this client asked about food sensitivities. And it was an interesting thing because as I started talking to this client about what I'm about to tell you all, I realized I've never taught this. Sometimes you don't know well, I teach all the time, like all the time, whether it be in these classes, whether it be in other classes that I'm doing, whether it's with individual one-on-one when I'm working with particular clients, I'm always teaching. My goal is to impart knowledge. My goal is to take the information that I have to make sure that you have access to what I have if you want it and use what comes from me if you desire. And the thing, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes from me that won't resonate. It doesn't mean that it's not right. It's just not right for you. But the things, if I come from so many different angles, most likely I'm going to come up with something that's going to resonate and it's going to resonate well. But sometimes I just forget what I haven't taught. And in the middle of talking to this client, I realized I've never taught this. So I'm going to teach it tonight. And then we'll get into questions. Let me start out with that part. When you do want to ask questions, you have a couple ways to ask it because we have new people here every week. You can go down to reactions and raise your hand, and I'll bring you inside of our chat. Or you can type your question out in the actual chat or comments section. If you do that, it would be cool if your question were not longer than a sentence or two. That way I can read it, but still focus on answering. If it's longer than that, I would appreciate you actually come on and ask it because probably there's some clarification that might be needed and it just easier that way. And you might want to type the letters QQ right before asking your question. That way, if the chat gets crazy, I can isolate it. All right. Food sensitivities. What do we do about food sensitivities? What do we do about that? When I am in practice, often I'll have someone either bring something that they are allergic to or insensitive to or have some sort of sensitivity or overly sensitive, I guess is a better word. And I'll have them bring it in a Ziploc bag. And so in order to demonstrate that, I have this Ziploc bag here. It has sunflower seeds in it. I did this in a hurry and I didn't want to like mess up a banana or an apple or anything like that. But sunflower seeds I can throw back in the package that they came out of when I am done. Now, for those of you who have lasers, like the individual lasers, if you've taken the Meridian class, well, it's not even a Meridian class, it is part of the AO Scanner Simplified course. In fact, let me show you where this is. I'm going to go into our portal here from the iPad, and I'm going to go to AO Simplified, AO Scanner Simplified. If you go down to the Meridian week, where I talked about meridians, week 12, Mastering Meridians. So there's a PDF there. Let's go here. And when you get to each meridian, there is a spot on the ear and a spot on the body. So where are we at here? We are at the lung meridian. And so when you scroll down here, it shows you the source point, the one that's in pink there. That is the source point for the lung meridian here. Can't zoom in too much because it just completely distorts. And there is one of those on each meridian. So if you scroll down, you'll see that. If I can't find that though, I'll remake it. I know that it's in there. This is one of the problems. Sorry to go on a tangent here. This is one of the problems. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but there is so much in that portal that sometimes I hide it from myself. Like I don't even know where things are because I put it in there and I put it in there for a specific reason, but then I load so many other things in there that I got to get in there and reorganize this in a way that's easy to find everything. And that's another reason why we're creating another searchable document for you all. So there's another document coming soon that will be able to search everything in the portal. Anyway, in practice, I have people hold on to the bag of whatever it is that they're allergic to, and I take my laser and I go around to each source point and I treat each source point for about 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds as they're holding it. Sometimes they have to sit because you have spots on the hands, some spots on the feet. Sometimes they'll have to change hands. And sometimes the palms will get warm while this is actually happening. And that's like a detox effect. The body is warming up in essence because they really are sensitive to this, and it's helping to desensitize them. And I do that on every visit if I can, especially until, the hands stop getting as warm, which allows you to know that if that happens, the warm hands doesn't happen with everybody in every particular time. But going through all of the source points with the laser, 635 nanometer is best, for about 20 to 30 seconds while they're holding that. That's what I do when they're on my chair. If I'm dealing with a child, or if I want them to do it at home, then I use, or you can very easily all use the IC Glow Pad. You can do this with the IC Glow Pad. You can also do this with the transducers, but I'm going to give you a caveat with the transducers if you have that. Those of you who are in this particular class tonight, you either have access to the Quantum Wellness Portal, meaning you're members of the Quantum Wellness Portal, or there might be a few of you who are going to our Day of Discovery talk. And for those people, you were invited to these classes all month long. You might not have the membership. So this part you might not be able to do unless you have the lasers, then you can go and do the other part. So I'm going to go back over here to our portal page and practice better. And I am going to go down here to Infoceuticals, your digital pharmacy. And the very first line is resonating frequency. Now, resonating frequency is the frequency that I'm going to go to. Resonating frequency becomes the base of this. And if you remember when I put that in there, for those of you who were here and I taught you about resonance frequency, you can do a lot with resonance frequency. It resonates. That's what resonance frequency does. It's the frequency of the earth and it resonates. And that is like a copy tool. You can actually use that to copy things. If you were to run it through the IC Glow Pad along with whatever else you put on there, if it were pellet or whatever, it would resonate all of the frequencies, and it would take the stronger frequencies and make it into the weaker frequencies, which would be the water or the pellets. Make sure that this is on. All right, so I'm gonna turn on my IC Glow Pad here. I don't think it's on. I gotta connect it. Give me 1 second. I tried to connect it before we started so it would be ready, but then I went on a tangent, and of course it disconnected. One day soon, I'm going to train myself to not go on these tangents and just open up the floor for questions. That probably won't really happen, but like if you say something enough out loud, you give it at least enough energy to give it a chance. Because if I don't say that, there's no chance it's ever going to happen. All right. So let me go back over here. So resonance frequency, I will run that and I'll show you the IC. I'm going to press, let me show you the IC Glow Pad first. So here's the IC Glow Pad here. And so I just turned it on. Someone reminded me that the IC Glow Pad doesn't come with really any instructions, and I'm sorry about that. I really need to create something for it because I don't create the IC Glow Pad. You just buy it. When you turn this on, when you first turn it on, one of the lights are going to blink, and that will let you know what setting you're on. So here, you see this is red. Now, there's so many lights in here, you kind of have to look really quickly, but it was red. If I hit it again, it's blue. If I hit it again, you don't see anything because that's infrared. And if I hit it again, what you'll see is red and blue. And there is infrared in that. You just don't, infrared is a spectrum of color it's not impossible to see, but you really don't see it in comparison to anything else. And so that is how you cycle through the different layers. So you have red, blue, infrared, red, blue, and infrared. You see it comes on for just 1 second. For the purposes of this, I'm going to use the red, blue, and infrared. I'm going to use all of them. And I'm going to go over here to resonance frequency, and I am going to run that. And then when I run that, you will see that the IC glow pad is running at that. It's basically running on the frequency of whatever is going through it, and it has creating a magnetic field and lasers that vibrate and pulse at the frequency of whatever is running through it. All right, so that's part one. So now with that being said, I'm going to take this IC glow pad and I am going to place it on top of whatever it is that I'm trying to run the frequency through. And I'm going to place that here on the sternum. Back up a little bit. And so I got it right here on the sternum area. Make sure that the mic is picking up what I'm saying. I have it right here on the sternum area, and I am running that frequency of whatever it is that I am sensitive to, which is inside of here. I'm not really sensitive to this, but you get my point. And I'm running it through there. And I probably would do that, I don't know, for a good 5 minutes or so. If I'm really sensitive to something and I really want some fast results, I might do it daily, if not every few days. And when you're dealing with children and you're dealing with sensitivities, it really can help. And what are we doing here? We're not really making someone not allergic to something that they're allergic to. What is an allergy? What is a food sensitivity? These are out of balance reactions to things that should have no reaction in that way. And so the immune system just kicks up, sees it as a foreign invader, overreacts, and starts doing things that causes stress to the body. So whenever we take a frequency like resonance and we push that frequency into the body, we educate the immune system without giving it the substance to educate it so that it won't overreact. If it had the actual substance, it would overreact. Now that it has the information, the goal would be for it to then be able to take the substance and not overreact because it understands what it's dealing with. The fact that it is overreacting means that it doesn't know what to do with the information that's being poured in it via the substance. All right. So that is a way to deal with sensitivities that come up on your scanner if it's something you want to be desensitized to. Like seafood constantly comes up on my scanner. I don't have any desire to be desensitized to seafood. I don't eat seafood. I don't desire seafood. But if I did, that would be one of the ways that I would handle that. All right. So there's a little lesson there. We're going to get into our class now. So let's go ahead and see who has a question. Go ahead and raise your hand or type your question into our chat so we can get started. Let me see whether or not there are already questions that are typed. All right, there is a couple. Hold on. Can the person hold more than one allergen, or does it need to be done on a singular one? No, it doesn't need to be done on a singular one. In fact, if a person is allergic to more than one thing, I tell them to put it all in there, and you don't need to go crazy and put a lot. Like, for instance, let's say that the analogy I gave earlier, if it were broccoli and carrot, you really just need a little piece of the broccoli, just chop that sucker up, throw that in there. A little piece of the carrot, chop that up, throw that in there. It can all just mush together. These are individual frequencies and they resonate individually, even if they're right inside of one. So no, they don't need to be separated.